Wow, Veronica, this is a different movie from some of the other ones we've done, huh?
Yeah, like for once, a really, really good movie, like a great screenplay. Robert Towne really knocked it out of the park.
Oh my God, absolutely. A lot of people have said this is one of the greatest screenplays of all time, and we'll get into it in the conversation. But I agree. The weird thing is, I don't know if you had this problem. I guess maybe my research was going weirdly, but like I know the names of so many people involved in this movie. You know, Robert Towne, Jack Nicholson, Faye Dunaway. I don't know the producer, Robert Evans. But weirdly, in all my research, I can't find out who directed it.
I know. I was just gonna say it's so weird. How could history not remember? How could the wealth of the internet not know who directed Chinatown?
Okay, I thought it was just me. I was searching forever, and then I got distracted. I also couldn't find the name of the actor who played that guy with the knife. You know, the kitty cat guy.
Oh, yeah. What's up with that? Do you think that's like related and stuff?
I don't know. All I know is we're going to have this entire conversation about Chinatown without mentioning the director or the guy who played that character or anything else they did.
I mean, I guess if we have to, we have to. The world decided that we can't know or talk about the guy who directed Chinatown and the guy who cut Jack Nicholson's nose with a knife, who may not or may be the same person.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's do a conversation about everything about Chinatown except who directed it.
All right. Toot toot.
Toot toot.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh, does that work? That'll satisfy people, right?
Yeah, I think that, we aim to please, and I'm sure we did.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm sure that'll be as popular as our opinions about Deadpool 3. No, obviously, yes, we know that Roman Polanski directed this movie, and we also know what he is convicted of doing. Wouldn't we all be happier if we just don't discuss that? So we're going to discuss him as little as possible, and we're just going to talk about the movie. But let's start by saying, hi, I'm Jon.
Hi, I'm Veronica. I'm waving.
And this is Box Office Time Machine, the podcast where we talk about the number one movie at the box office, either from a current weekend or a weekend far in the past. Like, say, 1974, when the movie Chinatown came out.
I don't know why I keep doing faces and movements, but I feel like that works.
Just as
the listener will
tease.
Be entirely confused.
A further tease to remind everyone that, yes, all of our episodes are now on YouTube if you want to see our pretty face. And the shirt that Veronica told me makes my arms look weird.
No, I'm not saying weird. I'm saying just out of proportion, which could be normal.
Head straight to YouTube to see if you agree or disagree. Please say what you feel in the comments of that YouTube video. Great for engagement. Like and subscribe. Yada 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 yada. But anyway, Chinatown.
Yeah, talk mostly about Jon's shoulders, please.
There's not enough conversation on YouTube about my shoulders.
No.
TikTok, however, my shoulders have been trending for a few weeks now. There's a whole dance where people try to do my shoulder dance.
Wow, this is yours? That you're the shoulder dance guy?
Yep.
Damn.
I don't spend enough time on TikTok to really continue this bit much longer. So instead,
I don't have a TikTok account.
We're old, but not as old as the 1974 film Chinatown. Veronica, what's your history with Chinatown?
I've seen it a bunch and I really like it. I guess I saw it for the first time probably in high school. Mm-hmm. Saw it for film school, definitely. And probably for fun. But I don't think I've seen it in a bunch of years and it still holds up. A little spoiler for my review.
Yes. Yeah, I think after the, some would say, unnecessarily negative tone of our conversation about Deadpool and Wolverine. If you're a fan of that movie, maybe don't listen to the last episode. Also, get some taste.
Oh, wow, John, come on. We need to be winning over hearts and minds.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to promote that episode because it was so negative, and now I'm just doing it again. Unlike that episode, I think it's safe to say we're both big fans of the movie Chinatown. I saw it, it was either late high school or early college, but I have not seen it since then. This will be the second time I've seen it.
Damn.
And yeah, I think it's definitely very different watching as an adult. I wish I remembered better about how I felt as a young person. I liked it, but I'm sure I felt it a little slow. Spoilers for a conversation we're going to have about other movies. You know what? No, I'll talk about it then. There's another movie that I rewatched that I haven't seen since high school, which is very similar, a very slow-paced kind of mystery story, Eastern Promises. And my feelings about it were very different now watching as an adult. And I think while I liked it as a high school student, I think I appreciated it much more now for any number of reasons. I live in LA now. I'm an adult. I've had relationships with people. And I've seen the way rich people can fuck over the public and their inhuman greed and corruption. Veronica, I guess let's start the conversation here. Which modern day rich monster do you think is most similar to Jack Houston's Mr. Cross?
First of all, before I answer that, I will say I was struck by how timeless the theme of, like, not only like rich people being assholes, but rich people being assholes in this specific way. Like the corruption that we have, the fight over resources. Now it's in the context of global warming, obviously, but we have all of these stories where like Arizona doesn't have enough drinking water because they sell it to Saudi Arabia or whatever. And this is happening right now. Like Chinatown is relevant. It is like kind of astounding how I'm not like entirely sure what was happening in the 70s when Robert Towne decided to write this, but it is, is kind of...
I know.
Oh, you do?
Watergate.
Okay. Well, yes, but I feel like... Yeah, I guess,
way,
yeah.
I'm going to pause you just for a second. I just realized I think I said Jack Houston and not John Houston. So for everyone who got really angry and was screaming at the audio, John Houston played Noah Cross. Jack Houston,
well,
I
I'm
believe,
sure
is the
he
actor.
went by Jack. That's a
it's
common
possible, but I believe Jack
nickname.
Houston is the actor from Boardwalk Empire. The guy who had the mask.
Yeah.
John Houston.
Anyway, but yeah.
Right?
I know that Robert Towne kind of set out to make this trilogy about different levels of corruption. One was for, I think, like urban resources. The second one, I think, was about oil. And the third one was supposed to have been about land, housing. Yeah. So that was his first one. And I can definitely, like, Watergate happened I think after this movie came out, technically.
Um,
Because isn't Watergate like 70?
well,
It was 75?
which election is it? I think
So Nixon got reelected in 1972. So I would assume it like, I don't know when he started writing this, but it feels like a bit too tight for it to have been directly about Watergate.
I
to
don't
me.
think it was about.
It was like in reference to that like type of corruption. I can see it, but I would also be curious if there was, because this is clearly, and I mean not clearly, this is like talked about. I'm not reading anything into it, but it's based on was it William Mulholland? Yeah, the guy after whom The Drive is named, and who basically had
this is a
same,
prequel to David Lynch's Mulholland Drive.
but it is like named, or he's very much that character in certain ways, and that is Faye Dunaway's husband who dies.
Hollis
And he was, yeah, Mulray, and then there was the guy who was Claude Mulhale, who are two sides of the Mulholland coin, like the corrupt side and the sort of the urban designer side. So I would be curious to kind of like, because I feel like those issues of just like how the government is so corrupt, specifically in a way that it handles public resources and disenfranchises people, is obviously a very evergreen story. But I would be curious what prompted him to write it at that point.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, but to answer your question, Elon Musk.
Well, perhaps the only rich man with as toxic a relationship to his children as Noah Cross. Elon Musk sucks. But no, I a few things. Yeah, Watergate was absolutely happening. Principal photography was happening in 73 on this movie, and they were having the hearings on like listening, like they were already starting the Watergate hearings in February of 73. But I think you're right that it probably it inspired the screenplay less than it may have made the movie feel incredibly timely and inspired how and helped its reception. But yeah, with unfortunately, yeah, the story of private interests, a few private interests corrupting public good so that they can get incredibly wealthy. Yes, very timeless. And I would absolutely, you're listing a bunch of good examples, but Mulholland, Mulray is kind of a saintly figure in this movie. And I actually want to talk about him later, because in this rewatch, I became the most fascinated with that character. But but Mulholland, like, the crime, this seems loosely inspired by the aqueduct. I was doing a little research that actually happened about 20 years, the building of the Los Angeles aqueduct that actually happened about 20 years before this movie is set. And there was a diverting of water to Los Angeles, which completely fucked over the homesteaders who lived there at the time, whose farms went to dust. It was not the clear, like, it was just shitty, fuck the little people move, more so than the clear conspiracy and crime that happens in this movie, where they do a whole thing where they fake a drought by dumping water so that the farms will die so they can buy them for cheap and then make tons of money when the water is diverted. That didn't happen. They town had to kind of invent that. But you do look at some of the incredibly stupid, corrupt things that have happened now. Like, you could very easily just make a crime movie about Elon Musk, about any number of things. But think fast rail.
Like speed rail in California in
Killed
order
that.
to fund his fun little electric cars. John, but he made it all up to us by introducing the Hyperloop, which is a thing we all use all the time for our daily commutes.
How many times did you Hyperloop today?
Oh, 1,000. I am in a Hyperloop right now. Can you not tell?
Oh, yeah. Go watch this on YouTube. You'll see that Veronica's in a Hyperloop. I'm actually not in a Hyperloop because I'm in a Cybertruck, which doesn't fit in the Hyperloop. So,
wow. That is his one oversight, to not make the Hyperloop big enough for his obscenely, comically large car.
hey, you know, as I always say, forget it, Jake. It's a South African diamond mine. But yeah, I think, like you're saying, the themes are so timeless. And then I've noticed this. Do you think this is true? Movies that are period pieces, when they're made, somehow have an ability to age slower because they weren't trying to be contemporary.
Yeah, I think it's very true. And if anything, they also have that kind of added advantage of having been made later, where they have incorporated some of the quote-unquote modern to the time things in them. In terms of just like pure filmmaking, Chinatown looks much better, I'm sorry to say, than a film noir from the 40s or 30s would look. It just, they had better technology. They had, they learned a lot in the time. So it is, I think some of it is like the fact that it was a period piece at the time. So yeah, we have that like an additional piece of remove, but it's also like we are still closer to that period piece in some ways, so it still feels more modern than a direct, just like a film noir from that period would be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's that weird thing where this movie is clearly like purposefully hearkening back to 1940s film noir, and you have the whole idea of like Evelyn Mulwray, the Faye Dunaway character, is kind of a subversion of the classic femme fatale character. That's part of the movie is, and I think this is probably the part that doesn't come across as much now, and maybe that's because I know the ending. But like, I don't know, would a new audience member ever really suspect her? She just doesn't really seem like the villain, the murderer, whatever. But that's because, I don't know, we're as far removed from neo-noir as we are from noir. The neo-noir of the 90s. I don't know how people count their neos. But as we know from the Matrix.
Neo-cubed.
As we know from the Matrix, there's only a chosen one Neo. But
isn't there? I thought towards the end there, and I stopped watching these, but there were more Neos, aren't there? Is there like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer situation?
That's what the architect said, but my memory of the Matrix lore is as strong as my knowledge of current day TikTok trends. So let's move on. But like, it's funny to think like especially like watching this as a younger man, like I looked at it as just like, this is an old movie. I'm watching this in the aughts. This is an old movie just as much as fucking Double Indemnity or something is an old movie. Some actual 1940s noir. And that's just kind of how time goes. I was doing a thing with a bunch of comedians on Saturday, this whole comedy show. And I was in a group with a bunch of very young people, two of whom were in September right now, but two of whom were making 9/11 jokes, but not
cool.
Very cool. But not like the 9/11 jokes that like someone who kind of lived through it would make of like, oh, can you believe how edgy this is? But like it had a remove that I felt like I could feel a remove in what they were saying. And then I realized it's because they were both 1 year old when it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so
time is fickle like that.
things take different meaning as time goes on. So, but this movie, despite the fact that the elements that are subverting old movie conventions probably won't come across as much, this movie does still work. And I imagine if I sat, say, one of those 25-year-olds down and had them watch this movie, I think
those people, they don't have the attention span for a 2.5-hour movie. I'm joking. Okay.
What are they, Winona Ryder's co-stars? Let's fill this up with as many like just online references from the past 2 weeks to really baffle anyone who listens to this later. But,
yeah, this is going to be a timeless classic of an episode, much like Chinatown. You're going to get all the references.
But like, it is a timeless movie because the themes are timeless. And I think the characterization is really fascinating. We can talk a lot about Evelyn Mulwray, and I think that's an interest. Well, we'll start there. Then we can get to Hollis. But Evelyn Mulwray, a thing I noticed this time, I can't remember how much of the twist that I knew the first time I watched it. But watching it this time, the reason why, like, I never believe that she's the villain, the way she plays the character, Faye Dunaway, is so incredibly sad. I'm not saying anything new about this 50-year-old movie, but the moment that really stuck with me is in the scene after they've slept together, and he follows her. She gets a phone call, and he follows her somewhere and sees her with the young woman that he thinks Hollis was having an affair with, and he thinks she kidnapped her. And he sneaks into her car, and he kind of accuses her, and she reveals, actually, that's my sister, yada, yada. The first bit of truth comes out, and then he leaves, and he says, I'll get you, I had to take your husband's car to follow you. I'll bring it back tomorrow. And she says, oh, weren't you going to come back with me? And he's like, no, don't worry. I'm not going to say what you said. And she says, oh, that's not what I meant. But it's like the way she says it, it kind of goes up because she's like just asking if he's going to come back to bed with her. And it's so incredibly sad.
Yeah. I think it is kind of around that point in the movie, for me, at least the way that I perceive their character, like she starts off with this sort of removed ice queen thing. And we slowly like kind of like see her crumble. I think another one is when she comes over to his office and she lights up a cigarette. They start talking. And then I think it brings up her father. And then like she like takes out another cigarette and lights it up. She like entirely forgets it. Like, like her sort of like cool, like remove, like immediately kind of shatters a tiny bit. And I think we get these little glimpses in a few points of the movie until like she crumples all the way. And I think it's a very brilliant performance. I mean, Faye Dunaway in the 70s is like, I mean, she's fantastic.
The lead performances are so good, and we're going to have to talk about Houston and Nicholson in a minute. But I think we should actually probably start with the screenplay. Like we were talking about earlier, people do like in like, probably like Robert McKee circles and stuff, like this is considered one of, if not the greatest screenplays of all time. And like, that's a silly thing to say about anything. But I think the brilliance of this screenplay and why it is held aloft in that way in like screenwriting circles is that when you're writing like a movie, one of the ways to make things effective and like really click is for every like detail, every choice you make to serve multiple purposes. And every single line and moment in this movie serves multiple purposes. Everything is both a clue to the mystery, a clue to the actual truth, and a joke, and a character reveal. You know, when you have the part where Jake talks to the fake Evelyn Mulwray and finds out what her husband does, and he ups the rate. That is both a character reveal about that he's kind of a slimy scumbag. It's also an important fact. That's how we first are introduced to the job that Hollis Mulwray does, which is central to the mystery. And then it's also just a funny moment. And every single line and moment in this movie serves multiple purposes like that. And I think that is one of the reasons why this screenplay is so esteemed.
Yeah, it also just, all of it makes sense. I know, like, in this podcast, we go on and on about how a lot of the movies these days just don't make a lick of sense. Like, not all of them and not the entirety of the movie, but there's always stuff that just doesn't fit. There's a shortcut that was taken to get you to an emotional character beat that feels unearned because you didn't really do the work of getting the character there or showing the audience how it got there. Or there's a big, emotional reveal or a big plot payoff without actually doing the legwork of setting it all up in a way that makes sense, that is still surprising. And I feel like this movie did all the work. Like, this movie, like, it shows you everything, but obviously in a way where you don't necessarily know it at the time. Like, it never is kind of like hiding things from you in kind of like a tricksy way just to get that like aha moment later. Like, all of it, you are still experiencing that surprise as the audience as you watch the movie, but you never feel like it's cheated, like you've been cheated, or like any of it is unearned. This movie is so tightly plotted, and it doesn't feel long at all. Like, it is 2.5 hours, but to me, it was like, it went by so fast.
Oh, absolutely. Let me ask, I remember one thing about when I watched this possibly 20 years ago. I remember being hung up on why they named it Chinatown. Like, why call it Chinatown? It's such a small part of the movie. Why is, what is the meaning of that? Correct me, like, what do we learn about what happened to Jake in Chinatown in his former job?
It's like, I don't know that we get hints of what happens. It seems like he was trying to basically, sail through, not really do a lot of work, which is the last thing he says in the movie. But then he got embroiled in something where he kind of got in over his head and had to leave. That's kind of my impression of what has happened.
And
what is yours?
A woman got hurt. A woman died.
Yeah.
What's interesting, I asked you because I was reading the Wikipedia and I read a quote about why he named it that, and I was like, I'm trying to remember how much of it was in the movie. So the quote you're talking about is someone says, "What did you do in Chinatown?" And he said, "As little as possible." And that is apparently a quote that Robert Towne heard a actual police officer said, or he read an actual police officer said. I can't remember. But what is your interpretation of what that quote means?
I mean, I have like kind of two interpretations in my head, and I don't actually know which one is real. The first one is that it's Chinatown, so it's obviously like an ethnic community that is, I would imagine, underserved by the police in all the ways that matter to them. And so what that means is that they basically let the people in this community live in like a crime-ridden environment because they couldn't be bothered to do anything. So, and then because of their negligence, something has happened. So that would be like one interpretation of it. But the other is more of just like, I did as little as possible because I was trying to look the other way for, whatever is like the big city corruption. So it's like, it's not necessarily to the detriment of the quality of life of the people living there, but rather it's just like I was there to serve not necessarily the people, but the powers that be. I don't know which one makes more sense in this context, but those were like the two that came to my mind.
I think they both make sense. And I think I always kind of assumed the former, that like, yeah, this is a story about how, the powerful get to do whatever they want and the people without power are left to be, preyed upon. But reading the Wikipedia, the quote, what the actual police detective who said it, or a police beat officer who said it, what he actually meant was that he tried to do as little as possible because there were so many different languages being spoken that he never understood the full story. And so he never knew if intervening would help or hurt.
Oh, that makes, in the context of the movie, it makes a ton of sense, right?
Yeah, it does make a lot more sense. I don't think it's necessary, but it is, reading that does make me think, oh, that was much more like kind of what Robert Towne was kind of getting at with the mystery, the like noir elements of this outside of the LA history elements. And I another question for you. So do you know Robert Towne gets a ton of credit, rightfully so, for how great this screenplay is. Someone, a mystery man who I can't find the name of, the director. The director, apparently, there was a big fight between Polanski and Towne. This is like an evil version of Pee-wee's Playhouse. I guess it's more like Voldemort. Voldemort's a better comparison.
Quaaludes.
Boy. Paul Rubens, Roman Polanski, and J.K. Rowling. 3 people who have never gotten in trouble. But Paul Rubens was innocent. He should be allowed to jerk off in a porn theater. That's what they're designed for. That Sting was bullshit. Anyway.
Yeah, fuck that. Paul Rubens, he's innocent.
Can I just say, I'm so glad that porn theaters aren't a thing anymore and home video and the internet has existed. Anyway.
Yes.
The reason I said is that so they had a big fight over the ending. And for years, the story was that Towne's original script had a happy ending where Evelyn shoots Cross and kills him. And that Polanski was like, no, it has to be a tragic ending. She has to die. That's what's going to make it, different from all the old movies. That's what's good. That's the truthful way. And, obviously this is just a few years after his wife was brutally murdered. So we can, we're not digging into the psychology of Roman Polanski. We have decided that's for a different podcast. But apparently, according to the research I did, in recent years, before he passed just a few months ago, R.I.P. Robert Towne, he did an interview where he said that he didn't write a happy ending. The original ending was that she shoots him, the police arrest her, and she can't tell them the truth of why she shot him. She doesn't want to reveal the truth, perhaps to protect her daughter, Catherine, but for whatever reason, she doesn't want to reveal the truth, and Jake doesn't want to reveal the truth either. So no one knows the truth, and she just goes to jail for killing her rapist.
But they don't know that he's a rapist because he doesn't tell them.
Only Jake does. No one knows. Yeah. And that's, I can see that ending working. He also said in the same interview that that ending thematically worked, but it was just it was too complicated, and he used the word literary, and that he he now agrees that the ending they went with was better. What do you, I guess, long story to say, what are your thoughts?
I knew that story. I knew that they had the falling out, or this part about them falling out over the ending. And I do like the sort of the, shall we say, revisionist town take on it, like what he actually wanted to do. It doesn't feel as powerful as what we have, I think. No. Like, I think the ending we have, and maybe if they filmed it and I saw both, maybe I would have thought otherwise. But to me, just like that, like the horn of the car, like her falling out, like things happen in very rapid succession. There's the horn, there's the falling out, and then most scarily to me, John Huston just coming over and he's like, this, like his crocodile tears just dragging this girl away without anyone actually stopping him. It's haunting. It's a haunting ending, and kind of us as the audience knowing that he is still out there and knowing what he did to one of his daughters, what is he capable of to do to his other, is a way more haunting ending than I think would have been a truly tragic ending if Faye Dunaway, if her character ended up in prison because of this, because she couldn't like verbalize and come to terms, or not even come to terms, but let other people in on the tragedy that has happened to her. Mm-hmm. I think it is a different, it kind of depends on what you want to leave with, what you want your audience to leave with. And I think with the ominous idea that he is still out there, to me, I think works better.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, in real life, her spending the rest of her life in prison is, I mean, this is an awful conversation to have, but like, is probably worse than just dying. But I know she'd probably get visited by her daughter. It would not be worse. But like,
if she was allowed to, yeah, I guess.
Image-wise, early century women's prisons probably not great, especially for a woman who's already a survivor of sexual abuse. But like that ending makes sense, but as pure visual images, which movies are, and the fact that this movie is kind of so mythic, like John Huston he's not just a man, he's just kind of like his character is just kind of a personification of ultimate like greed and evil. Like, yes, he should
have consequences.
Yeah, he should have, like, go on to live another day with new prey while his old prey is just a bloody, like, corpse on the street. Like, it just makes sense because that's the horrible truth. I want to ask you something. I watched this with my friend, and when the ending happened, she went, "Oh, right, the horn was foreshadowing." And I had never thought that. Earlier in the movie, in that car scene I mentioned, where she asks if he's coming home with her, she hits her head on the car horn. Do you think that's supposed to be foreshadowing of her death later? And again, knowing that wasn't in the original script, her dying.
Huh. Yeah, that is very interesting. I could see this movie being that good where they did think of it. I could also see it being like a happy accident of something Faye Dunaway has done, then has worked with the ending. Because there are a few, the one that I'm specifically thinking about, but I think there might be more, of just like clearly takes that you think like there's something like off or wrong in them that he keeps them in the movie. Like there's when they're where they are I think it's the scene where they find Mulray in the aqueduct, where there's like a quick scene where one of the cops says like, "Ah!" And then like they just basically move on and talk about the scene. But it's clearly like he probably tripped on something or something like happened like on his foot and he like lurched. But it's in the movie and it's never addressed. It's just like something this guy just clearly did, and they left it in the movie because it was like a cute like human moment.
Yeah, was that so? I missed that. But was that very long take as they're walking along the aqueduct? Because it's entirely possible that, they're shooting that. It's like golden hour. Like they've only got like time for like 2 takes. That might have just been because it's that long.
No,
take,
no.
right?
So this is the daytime. This is the daytime one. This is not. It's literally. I think what it is that there's. Maybe it's actually later in the movie when he's showing them the water, where it's like they pan from the giant like. What would you call it? Like a pipe or something, and then they kind of like he pans to like look at the officers and Jack Nicholson kind of standing around the pipe. I think it's not part of that because there's definitely a cut like right before this guy starts.
Is it the
I'm
shot?
I'm gonna find
ends...
the what?
Is it the shot that ends with Jake being like, "I want to talk to Hollis," and Lou goes, "He's right there," like that one, and he points to the body.
That's what I thought, but it could also be the one later in the movie where he's trying to prove to them that they're diverting the water. But it's already daytime, so they stop doing it, and so they're standing next to that pipe. I'm gonna take a look at it again, but it seems to me that the man who shall not be named, like maybe liked leaving a little tidbits like that in the movie to make things seem maybe more naturalistic. Cool. But I don't know. But that is like a very cool spot because I noticed it at the time when she does it. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like a cute, almost like it felt like an improvised moment by an actor. But it does very much kind of foreshadow the, her being shot and falling onto.
The moment is she's been caught housing Catherine, and she is debating she's clearly fighting with herself about what she is able to admit to Jake. And so she's presumably thinking about her father, and she leans forward and hits it. So like, yeah, it could be a weird visual or like audio foreshadowing to, yes, this will lead to her dying. And we also do get 2 fairly similar car chases in that same car with someone on the street shooting and a car driving away. And the first time they survive and the second time they don't. I don't know. How about that John Huston? He's scary, huh?
God, he is so good at this movie. He's terrifying. All I also kept thinking about is that Jack Nicholson very famously dated his daughter for a very long time.
Oh, Angelica?
Like, yeah. They were together for like 20 years or something. And I was like, what was that relationship like? Was he that terrifying as a father-in-law?
When did they start dating?
I think it was after Pritzi's Honor. So I think after this. So maybe 10 years after. But they had like a very long, they famously never got married, but they were together from 73 to 1990.
So while they were filming this. So presumably they met. So
it could be that's...
while filming this movie, they met. That's so funny.
That is crazy. But yeah, he's terrifying. And it's just, I didn't hit this man. I feel like he looms, but this man, I mean the character, he looms so large in this movie, but to the point where before I was rewatching it, I assumed that he's in a lot more of this movie than he actually is. It's sort of like a Hannibal Lecter situation where it's like, oh, he's only there for 15 minutes. It kind of feels the same way. Like he is, I think, in 3 scenes. And it's kind of wild how big of a presence he has over this movie. It's pretty fantastic. It's kind of crazy to think just also that John Huston was not really an actor. He was a very accomplished director. Towards the end of his life, he's like, maybe I'm going to give this acting thing a shot. And he is phenomenal at that, too. It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned Hannibal Lecter, but like Hannibal Lecter is built up. They talk about Hannibal Lecter repeatedly before you see him. Whereas Noah Cross is kind of just we first see him in those photographs, right? Fighting with Hollis. And then he's just like, oh, Jack Nicholson's like, oh, let me go meet that guy and see what his deal is. And then it's just like, oh, something's real wrong here. He's so friendly. I think we were talking about someone like Elon Musk, but we talk about the awful people we know now. So many of them, like, we know so much about them that they are just like pathetic weirdo children that they could while they are, you know, on a massive scale as damaging and cruel as a Noah Cross, like they have no mystique. Elon Musk does not have the mystique of a Noah Cross.
That's true. That's very true. Maybe we need to. Who is there? Like a low key evil, like billionaire that we can.
I'm sure. Yeah, the evil ones we don't know. I don't like. I don't
it's
know
probably
enough
the
about,
evils we don't know. Yeah,
I don't know enough about the Koch. Well, there's only one, right? Currently,
they're Koch brothers.
But one of them's already rotting in hell, right?
Oh, maybe, yeah, in that sense, yes. So
Here, let me look.
Single man.
How
or
many
like maybe
brothers
you know what
are currently in hell? Oh, this is Google did not. That was probably not the are currently alive.
Well, while you do that, you know who would be a good stand-in for Noah Cross? Rupert Murdoch.
Ooh.
We don't really know a ton about him. I'm not saying he's a pedophile or a rapist. I have no proof or like not even no proof, no allegations that I've heard. But in terms of like, yeah, being that kind of quiet, quote unquote, man in the shadows and like having that sort of power over people, maybe he tracks. But probably you're right. Probably someone we don't know about who has more money than all of those people combined.
There are a lot of billionaires we don't have the names of. And they're all terrible.
That's the kind of billionaire you want to be,
for
though.
Rihanna and Selena Gomez, the only good billionaires.
What about Oprah, man? No, Oprah bad billionaire.
She's fine. There are some other ones who are. Someone's a billionaire? Some like musician is doesn't matter. Billionaires shouldn't exist. Rihanna and Selena Gomez give up some of your money. The other ones more so. Anyway, Rihanna's a billionaire, right? From like her Fenty stuff?
I think they're all billionaires from their makeup lines.
Yeah.
Her, Selena, Kylie Jenner, or the other one, Jenner. One of the Jenners. Anyway, they're all like probably just rich on paper. And I mean, I'm not saying they're rich on paper, they're billionaires on paper. They're rich in a very tangible and real way.
So watching the movie this time, I became obsessed with Hollis Mulwray. And this is really only basically the realm of fan fiction speculation. But how much do you think Hollis Mulwray knew? When did he know it? And what was his relationship with Evelyn?
Wow, you are asking the exact same questions that Woodward and Bernstein were asking in All the President's Men. Like, how much did he know? When did he know it? That's it. I was... Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking the exact same thing as I was watching this. Because kind of seeing... Because initially we see him fight with Cross in photos. But then we see them be friendly in an office setting. And then we realized they were... Well, sorry, in the office setting, I mean in the pictures in the office.
Yes, we knew they were business partners at one point.
Yes, but still, clearly, they did not have a falling out like prior to what we saw, because otherwise, why would he keep pictures of them together all around his office? So it seemed to me like something that they were still like at the very least like cordial and so it seemed to me that they perhaps at least like from Mulray's point of view, they still had like a cordial business relationship until recently.
I think I disagree.
Okay.
The pictures, if I remember correctly, are all of like business things, like they're at like dig sites and stuff, where they are like the high points of his public service career. The facts we know is that they at one point basically owned all the water in the area, and then Mulray had it publicly divested, which caused the fall. What we are told by Evelyn is the source of their falling out. However, and this is the big thing, Evelyn is lying about some to all of what she says in that scene, because she is trying to hide the truth about what her father did to her and who the young woman that Jake is digging around is. So I think the one thing I think we can say is true is the scene where she says to Jake, "I never would have hurt Hollis in any way. He was the sweetest, most gentle man I ever met, and he put up with more from me than you could ever imagine." I guess my question is, well, first off, in my mind, they were trying to discredit Mulvey, right? Hollis Mulvey. Yeah. They were trying to discredit him and make it seem like he was having an affair so that they could push through that, what was the business deal at the beginning?
So they want to build another reservoir,
right,
and they're saying that they want to do it in order to divert the water to Los Angeles. But what they actually want to do is divert the water to currently arid farmlands that basically we're led to believe Noah Cross has bought under a ton of like false pseudonym names before diverting the water over to there.
Yes. So he was trying to block the reservoir because he thought it wasn't safe, and he's comparing it to a former dam collapse, which is a fictionalized it's inspired by an actual dam collapse that actually existed, that was in real life partially Mulholland's fault because he checked it that day and said it was okay, and then it crashed that night. But so they were just trying to discredit him. I think at that point, there's no plan to kill his former business partner. He just wants to discredit him to get this deal going through. Then after they discredit him, Mulvey then goes through and discovers the actual plot about faking the drought and buying up all the land. And that's when he gets murdered. So there's all that. I think we can kind of guess that that's the chain of events. My question is, does Hollis know about Cross and his daughter?
Well, that's what I think their fight was about. I think that it could be that this is kind of when he finds out, like, what happened. I think he knows. What he probably knows is that his business partner's daughter got knocked up and she fled to Mexico to, like, get it taken care of. And he went there, and he was probably nice to her, and she felt like she would be secure with him because he would probably not do anything to his business partner, and that's probably how they ended up being together.
Yeah.
But it could be that he kind of learns about the real story behind it fairly recently. And this is what the fight is about, and not actually about the aqueducts, because that happens before we think he finds out about the water source, right? Because those pictures are taken of him before he like spends nights like going through and figuring out what is happening to the water. But then again, it could be that he has already been suspecting things for a while.
I don't think we know enough to know for sure. Like, there's a few possibilities. I mean, the thing is, like, Hollis is spending time with Catherine. He seems to be just acting as a father figure to her.
Yeah.
Which would imply to me that Evelyn has told him, this is my secret daughter.
Yes, I think he knows that part. I don't think he knows that she is also her sister.
Well, it's possible that was actually the source of the first falling out. That and maybe learning that. Oh, and
it's not about the water rights?
Well, maybe
initially.
Learning that. You can picture a version where he learns that. Like, he's trying to decide, like, maybe Noah's trying to persuade him not to divest the water. He learns that Noah's a monster, and then he says, I'm done doing business with you. We're divesting and going public. And that's the first falling out. Then I guess there's also the question of, do you think Hollis and Evelyn, was this a marriage of convenience? Were they actually, like, they were clearly very fond of each other, and he was clearly acting as a paternal figure to this young girl who had no paternal figure. But I mean, this is where it gets into all of this fan fiction. There's all this stuff she says where she's like, oh, he was having affairs, I was having affairs too. And that could all be lies, because she could just be trying to get Jake not to dig any further. Why would a woman not want to... Like, he fills it in for her. There's only one reason why a woman wouldn't care about her husband's affairs, because she's having affairs too. Jake says it first, and then she just goes with it. But then she also says details like, they never last long, and... There are things she says that seems to be like, oh, that tracks with, an SA victim, like having problems with like relationships. We just don't know. And I think all these things are plausible. We don't need to know, but I think watching it this time, I was really interested in like, oh, I wonder what the chain of events were. I wonder what Hollis knew and when. What were the conversations between he and Noah? And it's interesting. Not interesting enough to ever make a prequel movie. Hollywood, please don't. I don't think they ever will, but oh God, please don't.
No. No need for that. I'm also very impressed that I guess because he owned... Initially, before we kind of find out that he was the owner of all the water originally, I was like, he's a public servant. He lives in a very nice house. And I was like, oh, okay. Maybe things were different back then. But yeah, to me, it always felt like they did not have a romantic relationship. They had a relationship of she needs someone to take care of her, to protect her from her father. And it's this man who... Though, like, we don't necessarily learn much about him, we do see that he has a spine and he has, a strength of character that I could see would be intimidating to her father. And that is why she picked him, because she felt like he could stand up to her dad and, as a result, protect her from him. Because it is... As far as we know, it seems like her father has basically backed off of her until her husband has died, right? We don't necessarily know to what extent her father has ever tried to find her daughter previously, because he's a man of means. So clearly he would have been able to if he wanted to. So it definitely seemed like there was something about Mulray that kept Noah Cross at bay. And once he was gone, it felt like kind of like open season for Noah Cross to like take back all the stuff that he kind of wanted for himself. At least that's kind of how I read it.
Well, here's a question. Do you think Noah knew that, do you think that Noah knew that Catherine existed, or was he just hoping that Hollis was having affairs and getting a private investigator to look into him? Because you're right, he does then tell Jake, I want you to find me the girl, but there are any possible explanations for that? Do you think he just learned she existed? Like,
No,
So
I thought that he knew. I never really considered, to be honest, that he didn't know. I thought he knew everything that he'd done. And it didn't, at least like in the way that he then talks to Jake at the end, it seems like he is aware of what he has done. And he just like, I forget exactly the phrasing that he says, but he's like, but I don't regret it. Because like you can't regret anything or whatever. It seems like he is aware of what he has done and he is using whatever, justification that he has for what it is or how to cope with what he has done. But it didn't seem to me like he wouldn't know. Do you think he kind of luckily stumbled onto it? Because it is kind of like an odd leap to make.
No, I don't. But it's like...
No, I'm not saying for you the leap is odd. Like for Noah Cross, if he sees a young woman that like Mulray is with, he's like, oh, this must be the result of my incestuous like affair with my daughter.
There's something like here's again, this is just fan fiction. Here's a possible explanation. Before they Noah and Hollis had their falling out. They're business partners. They're both getting rich. Cross says to Hollis, my daughter is damaged goods. She got knocked up and had to go down to Mexico. She's damaged goods for part of our business arrangement. You should marry her to make her respectable. Like, for all we know, maybe Hollis is gay. And maybe Noah knew that and was like, here's we'll solve two problems. You marry her. You're both now respectable. But, we don't know. There's any kinds of explanations. It was fun seeing James Hong in the movie.
Yeah.
One of the
great.
8 billion movies he's in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Are there any other tiny cameos that you noticed?
Well, Burt Young. I was sure there are other people that I... Diane Ladd is
Burt
Ida
Young?
Sessions. Burt
Yes.
Young, he's curly.
Oh, okay.
Here's a question. Here's a question. How about that scene where he goes to Curly's house? He's trying to avoid the police and get them off the trail of Evelyn and Catherine. So he leads them to a house, which we find out is just Curly's house, and he gets Curly to let him go. How about the little inclusion of Curly's wife's black eye?
Oh yeah, that was very good. I mean, not good as good for her for being beaten, but it kind of tells the whole story. We see him one time. We see this man. He's just found out his wife is cheating on him. And we see her with the black eye. We know everything. We know everything that went on between that one scene and that scene. It was so well done. So economical.
And it's another detail right there where Jake did his job and it just led to someone getting hurt.
Yeah. So yeah, he needs to do as little as possible.
This might be a well-written screenplay.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
it is kind of crazy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I have a question. In the scene where Deadpool's looking for the Wolverine variants.
Oh, God.
Because it all ties together. It's such a well-crafted script. Sorry, what were you saying? You were actually going to make a real point.
Oh, no, I was just... I was kind of marveling at Robert Towne's career, who, towards the end of his life, he was a consultant on Mad Men. And it's kind of crazy that, they were able to get him almost. You know what I mean? It's like he lived long enough to contribute to another very, very prestigious period piece. That
I totally forgot he wrote one of my favorites, Mission Impossible, and one of my
Mission
not
Impossible
favorites, 2. Mission Impossible 2. Have you ever seen the Two Jakes, the sequel to this?
I've been scared to, because
it's not supposed to be
I
very
know
good.
that it has not been critically acclaimed nor audience-ly acclaimed, so I kind of avoided it, but I should at some point. I want to watch all the Jack Nicholson movies. I think he's the best. I don't know about his personal life, maybe he's also bad, but obviously the 70s were what they were, but he is such a magnetic actor. It's wild. I think we talked about this before, how I saw what's that movie? Easy Rider. Have you ever seen Easy Rider?
I've never seen Easy Rider.
It's not super great, but whenever he is on screen, it's amazing. He's so magnetic. He's just you can't look away from him. And so yeah, I'll probably watch it because Jack Nicholson is great.
I we were just talking about Robert Towne passed away recently. I didn't learn until doing research on this that both Robert Towne and Jack Nicholson first met and were roommates due to a connection with another person, another film legend who recently passed, Roger Corman.
Oh.
They both met in a Roger Corman acting class.
That makes sense because that's how Nicholson started. He was
Little
in
Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors and stuff, and he directed, I think, yeah.
And Robert Towne's first screenplay was a script for Roger Corman.
I mean, Roger Corman was instrumental, I think, in Jonathan Demme's career too.
Everyone,
I think
the list is so fucking long.
It is very cool. He seems like a very interesting individual for sure.
I always it's a terrible thing now where I'm like, don't say anything too nice about an older man in Hollywood. You're gonna Google later and be like, oh god.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But yes, I think when Roger Corman passed recently, I don't think there were that many asterisks in his obituaries. I mean, the fact that he was a cheapskate hustler, sure. But yeah.
Well, that's allowed.
He used through being a cheapskate, he hired a bunch of people and gave them their starts, which is very nice. Nowadays, people in Hollywood don't hire anyone. But that's its own thing. Do we have anything else to say about Chinatown?
Well, I have a little game for you, Jon.
Do you? Okay.
I do. This might be slightly weird. Well, no, it's not. It's not really that weird. Well, we all know that one of the most famous scenes in Chinatown is the famous "She's my sister, she's my daughter, she's my sister, she's my daughter" scene. And so, Jon, I wanted to test your knowledge about movie sisters or daughters and their mothers.
Oh. I thought you were going to say how many movies have parodied that scene. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so fucking hard.
No. This is more research than I want to do. Okay. So I'm going to give you a pair of names. And for 1 point, you're going to tell me whether they're sisters or modos, as I call them, mother and daughters. Please feel free to go like this. They're sisters.
So a slap on my right side means she's sister.
Okay.
A slap on my left side means it's mother-daughter.
Okay, that's how we like it.
These are real people or fictional characters?
No, these are the names of fictional characters.
Okay.
I will give you their last names when applicable. And for a second point, you can tell me what movie they're from.
Ooh, okay.
So,
I'm ready.
All right.
I got my cheeks ready to be slapped.
Okay, great. All right, we'll start with something very, very easy. So, Gamora and Nebula.
Ah, they are sisters from
Nice.
the MCU, originating in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
That is correct. Ding and ding. You have 2 points. Okay, next. We're going to keep things easy again.
Although, to be clear, in
Anna-
the Marvel multiverse, there probably is a universe where they're actually mother and daughter. So,
Oh,
like on
God.
Earth 415.
No, not interested. Not interested. All right. Anna and Elsa.
Those are sisters from the Frozen series.
Nice. 2-2. Okay. How about Margaret and Barbara Simon?
Margaret Simon. Barbara Simon. Fuck me. That's Barbara from Night of the Living Dead, and the zombies are coming to get her. Gosh, I don't know. What is it? The Grey Garden Sister? No, that's Little Edie, and I don't know. I don't know who that is.
It is Margaret and her mom from Are You There, God? It's me,
Oh!
Margaret.
I'm sorry, Judy Blume. I never read or saw it. Although I can tell you, my mother saw the recent adaptation movie of that and really liked it.
I did too. It was so sweet.
I like Rachel
all right.
McAdams. I didn't see it though.
Still 4 points. Elizabeth and Jane Bennett.
Oh, that's Pride and Prejudice, and those are sisters.
Oh, nice. All right. How about Anna and Tess Coleman? Or Anna and Tess Coleman?
Tess Coleman. Oh, fuck, that sounds familiar. Tess Coleman. Tess. Movies. Fuck, I don't know.
It is Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis in Freaky Friday.
Another movie I've never seen.
Really? Oh my gosh. It is a delight. You should do a double feature.
Freakier comes out next year.
All right. I know. Is that actually happening?
Oh, yeah. They're filming it right now.
Oh, God. All right. I know you know this one. Cassandra and Constance Webb.
Mother-daughter. That is from the motion picture Madam Web.
Right.
Cass Webb,
All right.
one of the great film characters of all time.
How about Kat and Bianca Stratford?
Oh, fuck. Wait, Bianca Stratford. Oh, no. Oh, my God. Bianca. Kat and Bianca. I don't know.
It is the sisters from 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, Bianca. God, I should have. What is her name? What is Kat's name in the original play?
I think it's Catherine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Bianca. That's. Well, that theater degree is going to good use.
How about Annie James and Hallie Parker?
Annie James and Hallie Parker. I don't know. I'm not doing too well. Oh, I guess I should be guessing.
Okay.
It's 50-50.
Yeah, you should at the very least guess the relationship.
All right, mother-daughter.
No, they are the sisters from The Parent Trap.
Oh.
All right. How about
Lindsay Lohan is killing me today.
I know. She also did a lot of like parental themed. I guess everyone has a parent, right?
Once you get to the mother-daughter characters from the motion picture I Know Who Killed Me, I'll be set.
Okay,
that's the Lindsay Lohan masterpiece.
Rest assured, it's
coming.
That's
about twin sisters.
It is, actually. That's true. I Know and Who Killed Me. All right. Rose and Ruth DeWitt Bukater.
Oh, that sounds so familiar. I'm so bad with names. Rose and Ruth DeWitt.
Buchanan.
Mother-daughter, but I don't remember what.
They are mother-daughter from Titanic.
Rose.
Rose. All right. Okay. Let's give you an easy one.
Okay.
Laurie Strode and Karen Nelson.
This I do know. That is Jamie Lee Curtis and Judy Greer from the recent Halloween trilogy.
And they are?
Oh, mother-daughter.
All right. 11 points. Okay.
Thankfully, you did not ask me Karen and her daughter's name, because I do not remember.
No. That would be cheating. I feel like not. How about Meg and Amy March?
The Marsh or March?
Oh, Marsh. I think it's March, but maybe it is Marsh. Maybe it is Marsh.
Please,
I think it's spelled March.
Is this a classic literary adaptation?
It might be.
Fuck. Oh, God. Is it like... Well, we already did a... who wrote
It is
Pride and
spelled
Prejudice?
March.
Oh, is this... Are these a couple of Little Women? Are they sisters?
It is a couple of Little Women. Nice. Very good. 13 points.
Never read, never watched.
Wow. How about Hannah and Holly? No last names.
Is this Hannah and her sisters?
It is Anna and one of her sisters.
From the moment you said this category, I was waiting to hear the name Hannah.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Let's give you a hard one. How about Aurora and Emma Greenway?
Well, Greenway. It's not Princess Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. Aurora Greenway. What a name. What was the other name?
Aurora and Emma.
Aurora and Emma. Is that the movie Emma? We've done a lot of literary adaptations. I don't know, but I'm gonna say sisters.
No, they're the. I think they are actually sisters. Never mind. This is my bad. But yeah, they are from Terms of Endearment, and they are sisters.
Never saw
all right.
it.
How about this one? Tara and Sam Carpenter.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for giving me. I can see you putting this category together and just being like, well, he won't know that, but he will know. Let me do some famous characters he won't know, and then just do these stupid niche ones he will know. Those are the Carpenter sisters, obviously named after John Carpenter, but they are actually just like Wes in the first one was named after Wes Craven. But these are, of course, the Carpenter sisters played by Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega from Scream and Scream 6.
Nice. All right. And last
and we will
one.
never meet their mother, who had been set up and was almost definitely going to be the killer in the next movie. I called it, but we will never meet them because the production company fucked it all up, and neither actress is coming back to the franchise for at least another 5 years.
Oh, God. Do you think they ever will? All right. This is a different question.
I think
they're just going to reboot it again.
And the people who own it then will offer a lot of money. And it will depend what Jenna Ortega's career is like at that time. Although I just saw a trailer for a new movie with Melissa Barrera, which looked really fun. The kind of Beauty and the Beast looking movie. But,
yeah, I heard that that's supposed to be good. Who's to say? Anyway, last one. Wichita and Little Rock.
Oh, fuck me. Are those the sisters from Zombieland? Is that Emma
Stone? Ding, ding, ding. All right, well, John, you've reached 20 points.
I have seen horror movies and horror comedies, horrors and horror comedies, and some literary adaptations, but I am not doing well on Lindsay Lohan movies. Clearly, yeah. I need to fix my my diet needs to be more broad. It needs to be broadened.
She's having a comeback, so no time like the present to watch some what would be her Lilo movies.
Well, I think the question is, what was the name of the character Anna Gasteyer played in Mean Girls? Like you could have done that. That's a mother-daughter.
Mom?
I think she might have just been Mom. It was her and Neil Flynn. Doesn't matter. Speaking of movies, Veronica, you seen any movies recently?
Are we not gonna? We need to rank the movie. We haven't. Ranked the movie.
Right. I don't know. Chinatown, B-.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. You ready?
All right.
3, 2,
1.
A.
Woo! All right, good. We're in alignment. We can keep being friends.
Veronica, what have you seen recently?
So, by the way, Anna Gasteyer is credited as Katie's mom. Circle closed. All right. So since we have less talked, I went to a Don Hertzfeldt retrospective.
Oh my God, I'm so fucking jealous.
It was at the Paris Theater in New York. It was 2 nights, though he actually did another night where he screened The Forbidden Planet, but I didn't go to that he introduced.
Oh, so you haven't seen the new one yet?
No, I have. I saw it twice. So what they did is that every Friday and Saturday they showed Me, which is the new movie, followed by on one night It's Such a Wonderful Day, and then a Q&A, and on the second night of All the World of Tomorrows, and a Q&A with Ari Aster, who, by the way, is not a good Q&A person. Like, they had
Did
a
he just
very
talk about
personable
mom for 3 hours.
No. They had a lovely conversation, but he clearly was just chatting with a friend. So, which
cool.
is nice. He wasn't talking about himself. He wasn't being obnoxious. He was just, not super prepared. But that is fine. Me is very, very interesting. I think it's the most abstract of Don Hertzfeldt's movies. I think I've seen all of them. But it's super cool. I'm not gonna talk too much about it. I will say that he does say, even before the movie started, how it initially was supposed to be a project with a band. So it was supposed to be a movie set to their music. But the funding fell through on the band's end, and he just ended up with a bunch of footage, but he still decided to set it to music. And it is super cool. He uses a few pieces by this drummer. I forget his name, but and it is so electric almost. Like the way that he cuts those images together to the drums is phenomenal. And then that's interspersed with other classical music, which is more his vibe usually. Anyway, fantastic. I saw it twice. I probably need to see it more times to really grasp what's happening there. But it's very cool. He's also seems like such a nice dude. He was so gracious and thankful that people even came. He was very soft-spoken and gave very thoughtful answers to all the questions. So yeah, all around great guy. Hopefully we don't find anything bad about him. But yeah, he's great.
I was trying to reach up and grab. I have a framed cell from World of Tomorrow up here on my wall. But it's hanging on my wall and I don't feel like taking it down. So just know that I am also a very big fan of Don Hertzfeldt.
You should see it. It's very, very good. I'm sure he's gonna be doing a roadshow of some kind that is gonna get to LA again.
I performed comedy in a theater that was playing it a few hours earlier, and I didn't know that it was playing. And I got there and I was like, "What's that? What else is happening at this theater?" And I was like, "Oh my God, why did I not just drive up literally 3 hours earlier?" It was in Orange County. What else you seen?
I saw Blink twice, which, despite people telling you that this movie is fine, it's not fine. It is a major bummer, in my opinion. Kind of disappointing all around. I think it's kind of a very humorless, to the extent that it attempts to do humor, movie that's also is trying to be one of those like look at like rich people doing shitty things type horror vibe, but I don't think it ever lands on tone or on character intention. So yeah, kind of a big bummer. I like everyone involved. Wanted more. But as a result of that, I rewatched Glass Onion, which I remembered really liking. I was like, I want to see another movie about rich people on an island. And that movie is very fun. And
the villain in that movie is Edward Norton's character. He's based on Noah Cross.
Wow. That's quite the softening of a character.
Tech magnate and Cybertruck inventor Noah Cross.
I mean, if anything, not to spoil too much, but the Channing Tatum character maybe is more applicable in Blink Twice. But inspired by Glass Onion, which I have seen before, I finally watched The Last of Sheila. Are you familiar with The Last of Sheila?
No,
it is
sounds familiar.
It is basically, and Ryan Johnson talked about it, is the inspiration for Glass Onion. It is a murder mystery on the Mediterranean. It's from the 70s, and it's a bunch of people who kind of know each other from the entertainment industry are being invited by one of their friends onto a fancy cruise on the Mediterranean, where every night there's going to be a mystery game. And at the end of all the games that they play, they're supposed to kind of figure out who was who, like in terms of characters. And then a murder happens. And it's very, very fun. It's pretty clever. Can't say it works all the way through, but you can definitely see the through lines. There are definitely like whole scenes that are very reminiscent of this movie in Glass Onion. And it's just a ton of fun. It's a very original, I mean, you know, as much as like a Hollywood production could be super original, but it is like a very fun murder mystery. It's on Criterion. And it's pretty fun.
Awesome. Are you done?
Yeah.
My list is a little long this time.
Oh boy.
We just had a horrendous heat wave here in Los Angeles.
Heat wave.
And my apartment has some nice air conditioning. So I was having a friend over and we just watched a lot of movies. And then also other friends wanted to keep going to the movies to get out of the heat. So I went to the movie theater 3 times in one weekend, which is high for me. And also watched all of these movies I'm going to list, except for the first one, were all in one weekend. Actually, the first and last were not. First, I saw a British horror comedy called All My Friends Hate Me. And that movie, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was so fun. It is basically a man, he's been away for a few years doing charity work, and then he goes back, his college friends, or his uni friends, because it's British, are having a party for his 31st birthday. However, when he gets there, it seems like something's up, and maybe all of them hate him. And it's, I don't want to say much more. I'll say it's like one of those movies where you watch it and you go, I bet the writer of this takes the same anxiety medication I do. It is. I
wanted to see that movie.
It's good. It's social anxiety as a horror movie. It is great. I thought it was really fun. The ending's interesting, but I won't talk about it because I can't. It'd just spoil the ending. Then, during the heat wave, a friend and I watched the first 2 Viggo Mortensen, David Cronenberg collaborations, which I have not seen for years and years and years. In high school, I fucking loved A History of Violence. And then I saw Eastern Promises a few years later and thought it was a little boring. Now, 20 years later, almost 20 years later, History of Violence is fine. It's it's fun. The script's a little silly and dumb. The performances are fun, but Eastern Promises fucking rules. It is so good. It's the script is so good. The performances are Viggo Mortensen's incredible. But it is just the guy who wrote it. Is it Steve Zalian who wrote it?
Steve Zalian wrote that?
Wait, am I?
I mean, I guess.
Sorry,
possible.
Stephen Knight, not Steve Zalian. The creator of Peaky Blinders. And it feels like watching one storyline in in a full season of like the best TV show ever. It is just every scene reveals an interesting element about the characters. I knew a twist, obviously, because I saw it years ago. But the movie, it's one of those movies that's actually like more interesting to watch with a twist. I was actually rewatching Chinatown. It reminded me a lot, which is why I kind of brought it up earlier. But yeah, loved it. History of Violence, still fun, but Eastern Promises is excellent. I then watched Beetlejuice.
Don't say it again.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. I was such a fucking fan of He Who Shall Not Be Named, of the original Beetlejuice as a kid.
Roman Polanski.
I loved the original Beetlejuice so much. And I had been dreading this fucking movie ever since they announced it. I'm like, that is going to be such soulless garbage. And then people started being like, actually, it's pretty good. And then I watched it, and it's fine. It is fine. It's it's a huge hit right now. It's a shockingly large hit. I think that might say a lot about Jenna Ortega, actually. But
she's popular. I think it says she's popular.
Much more famous than I realized. But it's not what I thought. It's not some fucking like modern day Ghostbusters movie. It's not some modern day Star Wars movie. I was really worried that it was going to be one of these legacy sequels that's a soulless garbage fanboy nonsense. It is not. It feels much more like a bunch of old friends getting together and goofing around. And everyone is really trying. Tim Burton seems to be really trying. The cast seems to be really trying. The script is an absolute disaster. There's just no story. There's just no story. It doesn't make any sense. Everyone's having so much fun. Visually, it's a blast, but there's no story. So it's fine. And a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people say like, oh yeah, you got to cut some of the storylines. I'll just say my quick fixes without spoiling anything for the movie. They should have cut everything about the Jeffrey Jones character. They waste 25 minutes explaining why Jeffrey Jones is not in the movie. We know why Jeffrey Jones is not in the movie. Why did you waste all that time? Here's a simple fix. Delia used his face as her latest art project. So now the character's played by a different actor wearing unrecognizable makeup. Solved. It's funny and you don't need to waste time. I know the claymation sequence was cute, but goddamn, just start the movie with them already at the house. Anyway, it's fine. I was recently listening, just today I was listening to the Blank Check episode about it. You can listen to that episode. They basically said everything I would say if we were doing a full episode on that movie. So Wheels on Meals, the Jackie Chan movie from 1984.
Now I've seen everything. Wheels on me.
Apparently a typo.
Wow.
And then they liked it, or they didn't want to like spend money to recopyright it. I something like that.
That's
as
good.
you can imagine,
I like that.
The stunts and fights are incredible. The story does not get started for about 45 minutes. And until then, it's just a bunch of very silly slapstick. It's fun, But yeah, I was sitting around going, oh my God, start the plot. I saw a revival of Shaun of the Dead for its 20th anniversary. That movie, still good. And seeing that after Beetlejuice, I really was like, boy, Shaun of the Dead sets up its characters and their motivations and then just has a story, doesn't it? But Shaun of the Dead, still great. And now I'm going to end on something that I genuinely loved. Was surprised by how much I loved it. My Old Ass, which is so difficult to tell people to watch if they haven't heard it before. I was texting people like, guys, My Old Ass is so great. I loved this. I don't want to oversell it because it feels like it's something that could be oversold. It strikes a very specific tone. It is a sentimental, kind of sappy coming of age movie that uses a very fun sci-fi gimmick to kind of cut the sappiness. And for me, it absolutely worked. That's the kind of stuff I like. I love that kind of use of genre stuff. The performances are wonderful. The two main young leads, the teen girl and her love interest, they are both fantastic. Aubrey Plaza is great in her kind of smaller role. It's so good. Look, it's Stand By Me mixed with Field of Dreams from a female perspective. If that sounds good to you, then it's great. I really liked it. It's jumped up to, I think it's currently in my top 3 of the year.
Wow.
But I'm terrified of overselling it, so I'm going to stop there.
Yeah, I almost saw it this weekend, but I didn't get to it. I do want to see it. It looks very sweet.
Yeah. Well, so you'll be seeing that, but what will we all be seeing for our next episode?
Oh my God, John.
Good
I thought
segue,
you'd never ask. Sorry.
A good segue, right?
Amazing segue. I had an open window that apparently I closed. So give me 1 second. So it will be a new movie coming up. Ooh. And it would be one of these. Oh, the pickings are slim. I mean, in my wildest dreams, it would be Megalopolis. But which is coming out that weekend. It could potentially be Lee, the biography about the photographer, that I think is also the inspiration of Kristen Dunst's character.
I was going to say, in Civil War.
But yeah, this one stars Kate Winslet. The wild robot that we've been advertised to death, which is apparently pretty solid.
Looks cute.
So it'll probably be that. There's something called...
What comes out the week before? Could there be a holdover?
I'm glad you asked. Because the weekend before, we see The Substance, the Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley one.
Substance. It's not going to be, but really I hope it is.
There's no way it's going to be that, but
R-rated
I will see it regardless.
Horror, feminist social satire. The Substance somehow takes #1 2 weeks in a row.
It would be good. It could be Transformer 1.
All the conservatives, they come out of seeing Reagan. They're like, we love Dennis Quaid. Give me more Dennis Quaid.
I mean, maybe. It could be Transformers 1, the animated Transformer movie. I sincerely hope it's not. It could be Never Let Go, the Halle Berry horror thriller. And other stuff that is unlikely to make it.
All right.
So
I'm going to put my bet as either it's either going to be The Wild Robot, or in a real crazy upset, you and I will be talking about Beetlejuice.
Oh gosh.
It could happen.
Did not intend to watch this movie.
Pull a fucking Deadpool.
I guess it's possible. I'm rooting for Megalopolis. Yeah, well, I want Francis Ford Coppola to get his money back.
Well, no matter, even if it's not Megalopolis, whatever movie it is, we should still do the thing they do in Megalopolis, where we should stand up in the audience and yell to the characters.
Okay, we should do that.
Conversation.
As part of a podcast. All right, well, sounds like a plan.
All right, well, we'll be seeing one of those movies in a couple weeks. Until then, we'll see you all later.
Yes. Bye.
What, was that a bad ending?
Yeah. Don't you remember the classic Siskel and Ebert sign off? See y'all later.
Well, how about this? Toot toot.
Toot toot. Bye.